Hey, good evening, fellow grumpy gentlemen. Back with Ryan Chattaway's Fuck You Marathon. Um, Two great movies picked for me by Mr. Bob from Canada. Uh, I've been really lucky in all these films that you guys have picked for me. I've liked every one of them. Some I've seen, and one or two I haven't that I've really enjoyed. But both of these I've seen, and the first one I'll talk about is 1982's Conan the Barbarian. Uh, this came out in the summer of 1982, and it was in development since the 70s. It was a very popular comic book at the time, which I really never read. I wasn't a big fan of the comic book because I think Marvel Comics released it. I think that was the publisher. But regardless, I never was a big fan of the comic book. But uh, mid 70s, they were going to get Sylvester Stallone to star in it, and that never happened. And Charles Bronson, he was another choice for the film. I think that's kind of a strange choice. I can't see him at all playing Conan. I think Charles Bronson was a candidate for every film. It seemed like in the 70s because he was really popular. Uh, but in 1976, the producers saw the film Pumping Iron when it came out, and it starred Arnold Schwarzenegger. And when they saw it, they said, "Right there's our Conan." Uh, then it went through a few more years of development. It was filmed in '81 and finally came out there in the summer of '82. And it also see James Earl Jones plays in this too. R-rated movie, kind of violent. Um, but just a sword and sorcery type movie. Uh, really enjoyed great action scenes. I actually watched this a couple months ago, but I fell asleep watching it and I never did finish watching the whole thing. But then when Bob picked for me to watch in our movie marathon, I said, "Well, I'm gonna watch this whole thing all the way through." Enjoyed the hell out of it. I liked it, and a sequel came out in 1984, starred Schwarzenegger also, uh, and Grace Jones from A View to a Kill. I think Wilt Chamberlain was in that one too. It was PG rated, more family friendly, more of a comedy, more comedy elements in it anyway. And I haven't seen it, I've got it, but I haven't watched it in 15, 20 years. And I always preferred it more than I did the first one. But it's been decades since I've seen it, so it may not hold up as well. But this held up pretty well. I really did enjoy it. Uh, just a great action film. One of the best sword and sorcerer films made, I think. And this definitely put Schwarzenegger. He was already making movies at the time. He was in Stay Hungry with Sally Field and Jeff Bridges. That was a really good movie that I watched a couple months ago. But this is the movie that made him a superstar, and probably got him the role in the Terminator. Got him noticed by James Cameron. But good pick, Bob. I really like this one. And this one is one of my favorite black comedies of all time. This one came out in 1944 and stars Cary Grant as Mortimer Brewster and Priscilla Lane as his new bride in the movie. He just has married her at the beginning of this movie, and he goes home to his childhood home where his aunts live at. His aunts raised him, and they're just two old spinster sisters that live together. And he just goes home to visit them and tell him that he's just gotten married, and he comes to find out that the two his two aunts, when they have male visitors, they're murdering them by poisoning them with elderberry wine. Um, I don't kind of I don't think this movie would get made nowadays in this day and age, just because it's black and kind of sadistic, uh, but funny, very amusing. One of the first movies to take place on Halloween, I think, that was ever released. This, like I said, it came out in 1944, but it was based on a very popular 1941 stage play, and they intended on filming the movie and having it come out in 1942, but the play was so popular that they held up the filming on it, and it wasn't filmed and released until I think it came out in October of 1944. But and Bob Hope, he was originally slated to star in the Mortimer Brewster role, but I think the movie studio that he was doing films for wouldn't release him from his contract or something of that nature. He wound up not doing it. But yeah, this was originally supposed to be a Bob Hope comedy, but I can't see anybody else but Cary Grant in this film, and I've seen a few interviews with him where he liked this movie, but he always thought he overacted a bit in it, and I kind of agree with him. He does kind of go off the border there a few times in this film, but yeah, good performance. It's just he thought he overacted in it. And the first time I watched this one was in 1990 on the never popular RCA CD disc format. This belonged to my older brother, and it was always one of his favorite films. He always had this in his movie library on VHS or Beta, and he had a bunch of these discs, and we watched it together. He wanted me to watch it with him, and we watched it together on this disc format here, and I've held on to it all these years. Yeah, that's the first time I watched Arsenic and Old Lace was on this right here. But really enjoyed these movies, Bob. Two great picks, and the next two films were picked for me by Mike, and looking forward to watching both of those, because one of them is one of the best concert films ever made, starring one of my favorite bands in the world, Gimme Shelter, from 1970, and it's a concert film of the Stones' disastrous 1969 performance at the Altamont Motor Speedway that took place in December of 1969. But great documentary of that particular concert. And the second film is The Innocents, great, I guess you'd call it a haunted house ghost story type movie with children. First time I discovered that was last year, and I've got some things to say about both of them. Enjoy both of them, I'll tell you that right now. But anyway, I'm going to watch one of them tonight and film a video response next day or two and have it up. But hope you guys are well. I'm doing great, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.